Nigga! What's up, it's your boy Super Mario 1990 coming at you with a spoiler-free review of The Last of Us Part 2. Now, my first takeaway is that this game actually was a masterpiece. Now, I did expect that coming into the game, but playing it from beginning to end and Naughty Dog actually delivering on that high expectation is a feat in and of itself. Now, if you've played the first one, that was pretty epic itself. So that's why I had high expectations for this one as well. And talking about the characters created in the game, the first game was rich with characters. I think very real, realistic, raw with emotion, and it actually explained their motivations and things that they did, added context to them. The sequel does the exact same thing with what I think are better characters this time around. Um, as far as how they're developed, um, the decisions they make, the moves they make, the trauma that they've been through. There's even several backstories in this game. You'll also play as multiple characters throughout the game. You'll play as Ellie most of the time, but you'll be introduced to new characters that you'll play as well, and they have their backstories, they have their moments. Everything is contextualized so that you know why they made the moves they made, the motivations behind the decisions that they made, and it really adds this realism to what's going on. And there's a level of understanding too, as well, for the gamer playing through the story. So, as far as the plot goes, without spoiling too much, we all know it's a revenge plot, but without spoilers, let's just say someone pisses off Ellie, and Ellie goes on this quest for vengeance. Now, this quest for vengeance just consumes her with so much anger, hate, contempt, even some remorse. And it's to the point that it consumes her to the point where she basically loses everything. Um, Talking about, herself, and as she gets deeper and deeper and deeper into this mission, kind of the people around her. It's sort of a rippling effect that you see throughout the game. But with the use of, like I said, flashbacks in this game, and just using other characters and seeing why those characters did what they did and explaining their backstories, everything's contextualized to the point where you understand the decisions being made, you understand the moves being made, you understand the emotions being felt, and how they're basically acting off of those emotions. So it tells a very raw and real, honest story, and the evolution of Ellie in this game, she is not at all like the character that you've seen in the first game, where she was this innocent, optimistic, hopeful young girl. Now she's older and it's just going through a lot of trauma and is trying to basically handle it off of her raw emotions and how she's feeling. And in this game, you do get those flashbacks, like I said. So those flashbacks, some of those, they range over time. So you do get a glimpse of the old Ellie from The Last of Us Part 1, but you see how she eventually changes over time and why she does. And it's not to make her unlikable, but it's to understand why she is the way she is now, why she's doing the things that she's doing in this game. And so I would say that the story and the plot and the characters, I think, were a huge step up from the first game. And the first game was already great in those aspects, but I think it was even greater in this game. Now, it is very divisive to a lot of players and a lot of fans, and I can understand why. But if you just have an open mind and understand everything that's going on, even though you don't like what's going on, to me, I felt like every move in this game actually made sense. And the way they told the story and the way they made everything, they put everything full circle so that, okay, I get it. Even though I may not have liked what I've seen, I understand why what happened, why this person did that, or why this person would feel this way about that, or just the trauma that they're going through. The way that the story just focused on different characters was great. It's like, it's something that you don't really see in real life. I mean, you may see something go down, but if you're on one side, you only want to see that one side. It's kind of like propaganda. You know, you're rooting for your people. You don't really care about what they've been through, what they've done to make them move the way they move. It's just you versus them, kind of. And this game, I felt like you see that, but you see that on all possible sides. So you understand how all of these cliques kind of just organize, have their own ways, and why they go about doing things. But you get to see everything play out in such a way where it's like, man, this is why this person can hate this person, go against this person, can do this versus these people, and can sometimes not care or have empathy because you don't see that other side. But us as the gamer, we're seeing all different sides, and I thought that was like the best thing about the plot and about how they did this story. I mean, without getting into detail and spoiling anything, if you play the game, you'll see. And I thought that was just an amazing approach to this game, even though it was divisive and a lot of things happen in this game that I think fans don't want to happen or will be disgusted probably even seeing. But I mean, for me, I really enjoyed it. It was dark on a level that I don't think I've really witnessed before. So it was something new, and I think it worked. It worked for me at least. Now, to get into the gameplay of The Last of Us. The gameplay, when I was watching trailers and reveals and things like that, it seemed to me like this game would actually be, the sequel would actually be kind of a smooth experience. I was thinking more like Uncharted 4, um, as far as the fluidity and the smoothness of the movements and just the mechanics and just the kinetic ability of these characters. Now, I mean, not so much Nate Drake flying in the air and, you know, jumping from ledge to ledge. Nothing like that. But this game has always been grounded in realism, and it's been very gritty, you know, and kind of hardcore action. You know, not like an entertainment, you know, kind of shootouts like you see in Uncharted 4, which for me personally, when I play a third person game, I like to play a lot of action games. I like a lot of action and just excitement in my, you know, video games. This one is more gritty, it's more raw, it's more violent. It's very much like the first game, but a little improved. At first, it took me a while to get used to it because it wasn't seeming like what I expected from watching the gameplay trailers and things like that. But as I got into the game more and more, it actually did started feeling like that, and it actually started feeling a lot better. So I don't know if I just needed more upgrades, things like that, but I think maybe it was just like a learning curve that I got used to it, and that I also earned more skills, and it helped me play the game better. And so it was very exciting, and the new mechanics in this game really helped a lot. The dodge mechanic, really cool mechanic, but you do have to get used to it. There were times where I felt like it was unresponsive, but I think it was just me. I thought you could just mash the dodge button and then, you know, get away with everything, but you actually have to go in the right direction. You have to dodge moves in the right direction. You have to time it right. You can't just keep pressing it, and expecting to never get hit. So there was a learning curve there, but the dodge button actually was a really great addition to the game. Once you finally learn it, I found myself dying a lot of times because I would dodge myself, but then there would be like, you know, a creature from behind, you know, a clicker or something that would just bite me to death because I'm not aware of my full surroundings. So you do have to be careful with the button. You really can't mash the dodge button and expect good outcomes. That could actually get you into trouble. But what was really cool too, you could use the dodge button in encounters with enemies that have guns, like the WLF and Seraphites, or AKA Scars. All these different organizations that, you know, the human encounters that you get into when they're shooting guns and bow and arrows, you can kind of dodge bullets. Not in the sense of like the Matrix or Max Payne or anything like that, but it's like if someone shoots instinctively, you can just dodge to the left and hopefully they'll miss, or the bullet won't hit you as hard as it otherwise would have if you just stood there. You can be kind of like a grazed bullet, taking off less health. That was really cool and very realistic, I felt like. The jump button, I just despise action games that don't have a jump button. I just never understand why they don't. Certain games make sense. Certain characters just don't jump. Maybe they're too old, or like if you play Metal Gear Solid, Snake is just not a person that jumps. For some reason, that works because he just doesn't look like a jumper. Now, I don't know if maybe we're just thinking that because there's no jump button in the game, or he just doesn't seem like a person that would jump a lot. But in this game, there's always climbing over ledges and things like that. In the first game, you got that too, but you didn't have an actual straight up jump button. In this game, you do, and it works really well. It doesn't work anything like Uncharted, but of course, that's because they just don't have that kind of character that would have those kind of aerial abilities. But I mean, it was still really cool. Very convenient button. You can get you over obstacles, get you jumping from a ledge to another ledge, like you would see Nate Drake do, but just in a more realistic fashion, because they're not like these Olympic type, gods that can just jump over everything, like Carl Lewis or nothing like that. So that was really fun. Now, I will say there is a level of pacing to this game that I think is otherwise slow, and not with the story and not with the plot to me. I felt like that, ran smoothly. There were times where they slow things down to kind of get into the context of the characters, but that was all fine. It, in the end, paid off. At the time, you might be a little annoyed, you might want things to move a little faster, but overall, it does tell the arc in an accurate way, and everything does matter. It all accumulates. But as far as the gameplay, the world to me was just a little too open because if you played the first game and you play this game, it's sort of like a Resident Evil kind of thing where resources are scarce and you really need those resources to survive. So, you pick up bullets along the way, you pick up crafting materials that help you craft more weapons or more like healing kits. If you get too much damage, heal yourself, things like that. So all these things are important, especially when you come into an encounter. So to me, because these resources are so scarce and few far in between, there are these open areas that are optional, but at the same time, if you play this game and the level of survival is very dire, it's to the point where it doesn't really feel optional, it feels mandatory. There are these little puzzles that are cool where there are safes hidden throughout these different places, and you find a safe, but there's a combination, and you have to look around, find the combination. Sometimes there are hints, sometimes they are on a piece of paper that you find right around or nearby the safe, and I'll tell you the combination. You just put the combination in, and then boom, you open it up. There's resources in there. Sometimes there's even like new weapons or a holster, things like that. So it's very important to not overlook these areas and to search every nook and cranny. The only problem I had with it is because the world is so wide open and there's so much to explore. It was to the point where I felt like I just got lost hours into the game, just looking and looking and looking for stuff, and not really encountering enemies and not really moving the story along. So it kind of took away. That's like my only real gripe with the game. It's just the gameplay pacing in those moments. Um, it's easy to say you can just run and skip over that, but you really can't. I don't feel like, because you might run into a situation that you can't handle because you don't have enough resources because you didn't take the time to search all these different places and all these different areas. So I felt like it's really mandatory to do that. Therefore, it'll take longer. Um, I felt like The Last of Us Part 1 didn't have that problem at all because everything was kind of linear, everything was kind of streamlined. They get you toward a specific location, they get you toward a specific place. And so the pacing of the game I felt was really, really good. Um, there were dull moments here and there, but that's just what it felt like at the first game. But in this game, it's like, man, it kind of expands on dull areas. Whereas the first one, if you play it, in retrospect, it's like, oh, it really wasn't that bad at all. Having to search for this or do an environmental puzzle, but they did keep it moving. This game will kind of lose you in that for a while before they keep it moving. So that was my only real gripe with that. I just wish the game was a little less open, honestly. I didn't have a problem with how long the campaign was or the story was. I didn't have a problem as far as that, but it was just the exploration length in all those wide open areas that I had a problem with. But I mean, if you love to explore, which I'm not big on, But if you do love to do that and you do find this world really cool, this desolate, post-apocalyptic world, then you might not have a problem with that. There are some cool collectibles throughout the game too, and I found myself, since such an every nook and cranny, might as well do collectibles. I'm not big on collectibles, but this game did a good job of making me do that. Not in an exciting way like the Spider-Man game did for PS4 by Insomniac. That was really cool because there was like a backstory behind every little thing. This game kind of has that going on where Ellie collects these cards and they're like these comic book heroes. And you just kind of like read their profiles and things like that. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, I was like, I might as well collect as much as I can since I'm actually looking through every nook and cranny for resources and bullets. So why not, do the collectibles? So that was cool. The encounters in this game, like I said, really fun, realistic, grounded, gritty nature of the game. Um, just adds to a lot of like real grittiness and excitement. And it feels like because those resources are scarce, every bullet kind of counts. So it just adds to the intensity and the stress of each battle. And you got that in the first game, but in the second game, it's a lot more exciting this time around. And I think that's due to the new mechanics, of course, the graphics, and just new, I would say, animations too, kind of. Just how you can, there's a cool thing about bashing windows, like an action movie star. You can just like bash windows, whether it's to just find something or to make a quick getaway. Like I found myself running through these windows and jumping over things just to get away from certain people that are firing at me, or certain clickers or stalkers trying to run me down, and you don't want to get bit, so you're trying to run away. And Ellie moves really, really quick. At first, it didn't seem like it, but as I got used to the game, I got used to the areas. I think some are more claustrophobic, some are more open. There's nice different ranges for these combat scenarios, so you have to be well versed in everything. You have to know your surroundings, something that at first when I played I wasn't too much good at, but as I played more and more and more and kind of got used to these different random encounters, I kind of just picked up on certain things like, okay, where to hide, where to go, where to run to. Oh, there's this small wall that I can kind of squeeze through and just run and dodge, or there's like this tall grass so I can just duck and dodge and just dive into and then kind of conceal myself and then plot out my next move that I'm going to make, whether I, strangle this enemy from behind or shoot this enemy in the head with my silenced pistol, things like that. So these encounters are really, really, really fun. I would say there is a small learning curve. You have to get into a few encounters to kind of be like, okay, know how to approach certain things. So that was really cool. And yeah, I would say that as far as the nature and tone of this game, I would say this is probably like one of the best for combats as far as like the dark, gritty tone and nature and realism. Um, Better than I would say what you would see in the Resident Evil remakes and things of that nature. It just played really great. Really, it was really fresh. It was really smooth, um, really fluid. I really got used to it. It was really, really fun. And I think for me, other than the plot and the story, those encounters were like the bright spot of the game. Like the most exciting part about the game were the encounters with the enemies, and just that alongside with witnessing the story and the character development and evolution and dynamics and things like that. So overall, y'all, man, I give this game a 10 out of 10. I was expecting to do so after playing the first one, and the second one I think is even better. You may not like the direction in which they went in, you may not like the things that happened, but I felt like the way they told the story, everything made sense. Everything added up to a point where things mattered, and just was like, okay, I understand why I'm seeing what I'm seeing, why I'm witnessing what I'm witnessing, why this person's feeling this way, and why this person is reacting to it in this manner. I felt like it was just a very real, honest story. It wasn't a story to please you or be a fan favorite. It was to just tell something real and honest. I mean, it's a fictional, post-apocalyptic world, but I mean, just in the way that it was going, when you invest yourself in the characters and learn more about them, and then you experience their traumas and how they react to these traumas, how they live with these traumas in different ways, and just make the moves they make based off those emotions from that trauma. It just made for a very real experience and a real game. And yeah, and like I said, 10 out of 10, and just a masterpiece. I really enjoyed it thoroughly. And sorry for those that didn't, but that's just how it goes, man. Storytelling, you can't please everybody. But yeah, if you get a chance to play this game, if you haven't, I would say it's great. Just be prepared for some dark, heavy, emotional stuff. And for me, be on the lookout for a few GMVs I'm going to do, and I'm going to do a fan-made trailer as well of this game to wrap up everything. I've done a 28-part playthrough. Go check that out if you will. No commentary. I did one with commentary, but there were some problems, so I only got like halfway through the game with commentary. But if you don't care about that, you can just watch the whole thing without at two different videos. So the 28 part video, that's the one without the commentary. And then, like I say, yeah, be on the lookout for the GMVs and the trailer, and that's how I'll wrap this game up after this review. But it's your boy Super Mario 1990. I'm out. Peace in.